Well, for some insight into the latest developments, we can bring in Stefan Wolff, a professor of international security at the University of Birmingham. Good morning, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Good morning.
I want to start with this deadline that Trump gave Putin to avoid new sanctions. It looks like it's almost certainly going to be missed. Do you expect that Trump is going to take any action today, or is he just going to kick the can further down the road?
Well, I think it will depend on what will happen today. I would think it's quite possible that we'll see an announcement of a meeting, and that meeting will probably be enough for Trump to then say, okay, he's going to not implement the sanctions immediately. What we have also seen yesterday was that just after the meeting between Witkoff and Putin had ended, Trump actually put out another executive order in which he already imposed additional tariffs on India, which has been in his sight as one of the main Russian oil buyers. But even these tariffs will only come into effect in about 3 weeks' time. So there's still a window for Trump to make an announcement today, but actually delay the implementation of any additional sanctions by a couple of days, possibly until next week, when a meeting, should it go ahead, actually happens with him and Putin.
Do you think that the threat of new sanctions and these tariffs already announced for India is going to have any effect on Putin?
Well, I mean, it seems that there has been some effect of this because, I mean, Putin until now has been very clever in really trying to string Trump along and not really commit to anything. So the fact that they are actually managed to agree to a meeting next week, I mean, that doesn't tell us anything about the outcome of the meeting, anything about the agenda of the meeting, but it does seem that Putin is moving at least somewhat into the direction that Trump wants, which is to have a little bit more summit diplomacy, potentially subsequently also including President Zelensky of Ukraine.
And given that Russia and Ukraine are so wildly far apart in their demands, I mean, what could possibly come out of a meeting this early between Trump and Putin?
But that, I think, is the danger, that this meeting is actually, in the end, not really going to be about the war in Ukraine, but rather about a reset of relations between Russia and the United States, which is clearly something that has been on Trump's mind for a long time, even before he returned to the White House. At some point, he gave an interview to Tucker Carlson in which he said that it was on his agenda to unite Russia and China, make a deal with Russia, and bring Russia closer to the United States again. And Putin and his people have repeatedly said that they are interested in a reset of relations with the United States. So just having a meeting between Trump and Putin, which seems to be the Russian agenda here, might actually be a way for Putin to reset relations with Trump and then potentially hope that Trump will lean on Zelensky to make more concessions as part of a ceasefire or peace agreement.
That's certainly the fear of the Ukrainians, but Trump has been pretty volatile when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. I mean, he has been frustrated with Putin as of late. What's sort of guiding him in his choice of allegiances?
That's very hard to tell. I mean, as you said, he's very volatile. You never know what you wake up in the morning in terms of what he has posted on Truth Social the night before. So I think at the moment, his frustration with Putin is very palpable. He has been very irritated. That seems to have calmed down a little bit now. So he said that yesterday great progress was made in the meeting. He seemed quite optimistic that actually negotiations can go back on track. And so far, he has not indicated that he will turn on Zelensky again. But at the same time, it is quite worrying that there is no talk of any proper negotiations at the moment that would, for example, involve European allies of Ukraine.
Meanwhile, Zelensky seems to be in a sort of a weakened position at home. Is that also a concern that could impact these talks?
Absolutely, and I think this is partly what also swayed Putin, that now might actually be a good time to partially re-engage in negotiations at the moment. Because Zelensky clearly weakened after the disastrous handling of the anti-corruption agencies over the last 10 days or so. And it gives, of course, again, more to Putin in his claims that actually Zelensky is not a legitimate leader, that there need to be elections in Ukraine. All of which, on the one hand, will further delay a ceasefire, let alone a peace agreement. But also what I think it does is it manages, again, or gives Putin more leverage to manage his relations with the United States above managing an end to the war in Ukraine.
And just briefly, how is what's happening on the battlefield impacting these negotiations to end the war?
I think it makes Putin much less concerned in terms of the urgency of that. I mean, at the moment, the Russians are still making gains, both on the ground, but also with their air campaign against, in particular, critical national infrastructure in Ukraine. So Putin on that front is clearly not under pressure. I mean, the pressure that he's experiencing right now is from the potential economic disruption if Trump really goes ahead this time and imposes his sanctions. And in the longer term, if the new Western plans to support Ukraine militarily actually come off the ground, then Putin's war effort itself on the battlefield might be somewhat blunted. But this is probably still a couple of weeks, potentially months away.
All right, Stefan Wolff, thank you so much for your insights. We'll keep an eye on developments throughout the day. Again, that's Stefan Wolff, a professor of international security at the University of Birmingham.